Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Great to be diving in again.
Today, we're really embarking on a journey, one that challenges some pretty deep-rooted assumptions.
Assumptions about human creation, specifically. And we've got sources offering a powerful, much more uplifting view.
Absolutely. We're looking at how we understand certain concepts, especially from sacred texts, and maybe how we take them for granted.
You mean this idea of inherited information?
Exactly that. And we're applying this lens to a really specific, widely held interpretation from the Quran.
The verse that Yiseki Ifalad, verse 4.
That's the one. For so many, it's always meant, humanity was created for hardship and suffering.
But digging into the sources, it seems this might be a profound misunderstanding based on that inherited information you mentioned.
Right. And our mission today is to explore what else it could mean, a more, maybe, empowering truth.
Indeed. We need to peel back the layers. Look at the language, the context, the core principles. It points to a dramatically different understanding.
So what does this actually mean for how we see ourselves? Our whole journey. Let's try and unpack it.
Okay, so starting with that inherited information concept, it's quite central here.
It really is. Our sources point out how when an idea, especially tied to religion, gets passed down,
it almost takes on a life of its own, right? A kind of false sanctity, they call it.
Yeah, like it's part of the original revelation. And then questioning it feels wrong, almost offensive.
Even if a deeper look might show something else entirely. And what's fascinating is, this isn't new.
No, the sources say the Quran itself talks about this, an ancient disease, they term it.
Right. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 104, it describes people clinging to what their ancestors did.
So then the latings is, for me, what we've found our fathers doing is enough for us.
Even if, as the verse continues, their fathers didn't really know anything or weren't guided.
It's such a powerful commentary on, just sticking with tradition without thinking critically.
It really is. And it prompts a question for you, the listener, doesn't it?
Definitely. What beliefs are you holding on to, maybe inherited ones, about big things like your purpose that could use a fresh look, a reevaluation?
And that brings us right back to This verse is a prime example.
The common translation, created for hardship, toil, suffering, from the get-go.
But, it turns out even the early, really respected interpreters weren't entirely settled on just that one meaning.
Oh, that's interesting. Like who?
Well, Al-Tabari, for instance. He knew the severity and toil interpretation, sure, but he also mentioned others.
Like what?
Meanings like in moderation and uprightness. He specifically noted humans were created standing upright, walking on two legs, unlike animals, a kind of dignity and form.
Wow, okay. And you mentioned al-Zamakhshari, too.
Him, too. He also included interpretations like in straightness and moderation of stature. We're simply created upright, again, suggesting balance, maybe even nobility.
So this idea of perpetual suffering, it wasn't the only game in town, even back then.
Not at all. There was this oscillation, maybe a hesitation, a recognition that kabad could mean something more aligned with dignity or balance.
So how did the hardship meaning become so dominant, so widely accepted? It feels like a pretty big shift from those other possibilities.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The sources suggest perhaps the hardship angle just resonated more easily with people's everyday experiences of, life being difficult sometimes.
Makes sense. Easier to latch onto.
But in doing that, it kind of overshadowed these richer, more balanced views.
Yeah.
And that's how you get what our sources call an inherited fallacy, one that pulls away from the Quran's bigger picture.
Okay, so if hardship isn't the main story, or maybe not the only story, what clues does the Quran itself give us? You mentioned context.
Context is crucial. Our sources really stress looking at what comes immediately before and after the verse. That's usually where the meaning gets illuminated.
Right. So what comes right after Sekle Eko?
Hey, Shaudis. Aishi AAAE, take day EP.
It's quite striking, actually. God lists these incredible blessings, gifts. Like, ACEAT. They say, I see the Tange pure Sekalanelaway, it's Sek
Hath we not made for him 2 eyes, and a tongue and 2 lips, and guided him to the 2 highways?
Exactly. Perception, communication, moral choice. These foundational gifts.
So, wait, how can you be created in hardship if the very next lines list these amazing, perfect tools and guidance, It feels like a direct contrast.
It does create a real tension with the hardship interpretation, doesn't it? Why list enabling gifts if the fundamental state is misery?
And what about the verse before it? Does that shed any light? It does. It says, "Say what it say designated as Yuri di Hana, what is infosing to feeling no one has power over him."
Ah, so it's about potential human arrogance, despite all the gifts.
Precisely. It suggests that the very completeness of our creation, all these gifts, is actually a test of responsibility, of humility, not proof we were made miserable.
That makes a lot more sense. And it seems to fit with a bigger theme in the Quran, too, right? About ease.
Absolutely. Our sources are very clear on this. They state the entire Quran is built on ease, not on hardship.
They even quote that famous verse from Al-Baqarah.
Verse 185. Just then you dong put you in easy, you can exit.
It's almost a check of this. God intends for you ease and does not intend for you hardship.
That's pretty explicit.
It is. So the core message is ease. How then could our fundamental creation be defined by its opposite, by inherent hardship? It doesn't quite line up.
So trials and difficulties exist, obviously, but they aren't the definition of our creation. Exactly. They're tests of faith, gratitude, patience. Temporary things that reveal our character, maybe help us grow, elevate us even, but they don't mean our starting point, our created state, is misery.
And there's also the whole concept of human dignity, isn't there? Being honored.
Immensely honored. The sources remind us that God breathed his spirit into humans. That's mentioned in Surah al-Isra.
That spiritual aspect, the ruh, it elevates humans, gives responsibility, free will, sets us apart.
It really does. Animals have a soul for life, nafs. But this spirit, ruh, is unique to humans in this way, bringing that capacity for higher purpose and accountability.
So, if we're created with such honor, such potential, intended for ease, saying we were created in absolute misery just feels illogical.
It does seem inconsistent with these major themes, which is why we really need to look at the word kabad itself. What does it actually mean in Arabic?
Okay, yeah. Let's dive into the linguistics. Does the Arabic root of kabad give us a different direction?
It absolutely does. This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Lay it on us.
Our sources confirm. The basic meaning of kabad in Arabic is about the center, the middle, the core, or even the peak of something.
The peak, like the highest point.
Exactly. Arabs would say the sun is in the kabad of the sky, meaning it's at its zenith, its highest point, not suffering.
Or like I hit the kabad of the truth, meaning I got to the very heart of it, the core.
Precisely. So the inherent meaning is about elevation, centrality, significance, not difficulty or pain.
That completely flips the common understanding on its head.
It really does. And get this, even the related word mukabada, which people do often translate as enduring hardship.
Yeah.
It doesn't really mean just sitting there suffering permanently. The sources explain it more like exerting significant effort towards a goal. Striving.
Ah, so it's active, like a student mukabid working hard, struggling through studies to succeed.
Exactly. Or a warrior mukabid enduring difficulties in battle to achieve victory. Or an athlete pushing through pain to win.
So the mukabada is the effort involved in striving for something higher, for that peak or kabad. It's about the journey towards elevation, not just being stuck in misery.
That's the understanding the sources put forward. The struggle isn't the definition of the state, it's the means to achieve elevation. It's about aspiration, growth, purposeful effort.
Which leads to a really profound shift in thinking, doesn't it?
It does. The challenges we face, the difficulties, the striving, they aren't proof we were created in misery.
Instead,
the argument is they're part of being created for elevation through them. The mukabada of life is the test, the ladder.
the ladder that helps us climb higher.
Right. Helps us ascend. The sources even suggest that if life had zero challenges, we kind of lose our value, our drive to innovate, create, grow.
So the effort, the struggle, it's vital for our development, but it's not our fundamental blueprint.
Exactly. It's the tool, not the definition of our creation itself.
And how does this connect with other verses? You mentioned striving for elevation. What about our actual created form?
Ah, yes. This ties in perfectly with that other really powerful statement in the Quran in Surah Al-Tin, verse 4.
Remind us.
Thirgiye e finiole e sia man.
Indeed, we created man in the best stature.
The best stature.
The best. Most excellent form, balance. Physically, psychologically, spiritually. Our sources emphasize this is definitive.
So, created the best stature, but also created in hardship. Those seem completely contradictory.
They really do. And based on the context, the language, the principle of ease, the evidence stacks up heavily in favor of best stature, with kabad, meaning that peak, that uprightness we're striving towards.
It paints a very different picture of human potential.
A much more dignified and empowering one.
And just quickly, there was one other clarification in the sources about being vice adherents on earth.
Right. That term, khalifa, doesn't mean we're like substitutes for God or anything. No, it's more about succession, isn't it? Like Surah Al-An'am says, okay, Walasihushero is Sanyako. We succeed each other generation after generation.
Inhabiting the earth, cultivating it, it underlines our role, our responsibility, our active engagement with the world. Again, not a passive state of suffering.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What's the big takeaway from this deep dive?
Well, we've seen how digging into the Quran's context, its core principles, and the actual Arabic language, it just completely reframes that verse.
The idea that humanity was created in hardship.
Our sources basically call it an inherited fallacy. It's a common understanding, but maybe not the most accurate or complete one.
And instead, kabad points towards
a peak, a zenith, a core, being created in that central, upright, balanced state, perhaps, or maybe for the purpose of reaching that peak state.
And the struggles, the mukabada.
They're not the definition of our existence. They're the ladder, the effort we exert to climb, to elevate ourselves towards that best stature we were created in.
It suggests we're honored, equipped, intended for ease, fundamentally, and that the goal is elevation through effort, not misery because of creation.
Exactly. We're created to achieve that ultimate sense of kabad elevation, reaching our most perfect form, fulfilling that best stature.
That feels, truly uplifting, empowering even. It really challenges us to look past the surface, doesn't it?
To engage more critically with texts, with any information we inherit, really. To dig for those deeper meanings.
And it shifts the view of life's difficulties, not a curse, but maybe a path, a means to reach our potential.
Which leads to a final thought for you, the listener.
Go on.
If this one interpretation, so widely accepted for so long, can be re-understood so profoundly just by looking closely at its roots, the language, the context, what other inherited information might you be carrying around about yourself, the world, your purpose, things you've just accepted?
What might they reveal if you gave them the same kind of deep dive? A different truth, maybe a more empowering one.
Something to definitely mull over.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us on this really quite enlightening deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep diving deep.